Hello my friends, I'm Larsen and I'm the IRC Tire Guy. Today we have one of the raddest machines I've had the pleasure of testing. The 2023 TM300FI 4-stroke, or what I call the Swiss Army knife of Enduro. Now of course you guys know I ride a lot of hard Enduro and spend most of my time on 2-strokes. I prefer technical terrain over most any. Although with that being said, we've started our all-new adaptability episodes as I push myself to become the most well-rounded rider I can be and show you guys what I've learned along the way. Now, you can check out our first 2 adaptability episodes right here, with a proper acceleration and deceleration form, as well as a breakdown on sandy, rutted corners right here. With this newfound approach and focus on becoming the most adaptable rider possible, I also need to be efficient on any bike at any time. 2-stroke, 4-stroke to electric. As I've mentioned before, if it has 2 wheels, a motor, and IRC tires fit, I'll ride it. So that brings me to this beautiful machine, the Italian-made TM300FI, the do-it-all 300cc 4-stroke. Power Chicken Offroad in Heber, Utah provided this incredible machine. Power Chicken is an official dealer of TM motorcycles, and they have an extreme knowledge of the brand and the ins and outs of these machines. They've done extensive R&D research with my student, Jack Wilford, who's probably harder on bikes than anyone I've ever met. Any problem that the TM may have, Colin, the owner of Power Chicken, has experienced it and probably can fix it fast. Now, I hate to say the same thing every magazine has already said, but these TMs are a work of art, an expression of engineering through performance in off-road. To me, this TM is not only a work of art visually, but in its performance and its capabilities. This might be one of the most well-rounded machines I've experienced. A machine that's made for the average rider who gets into any and every situation. That's exactly how I tested this machine. High speed to low speed and everything in between. The beauty of the 300cc 4-stroke powerhouse on the TM is its ability to adapt to any terrain. Often 450cc 4-strokes are just too much power, especially as the terrain gets more technical. The 450 can be a handful. Honestly, in any terrain, the 450 can be a handful. On the other side of the 4-stroke spectrum, we have 250Fs. Often, they feel a bit underpowered, especially the off-road versions of these machines. Usually, they have a more controllable, tamed down power. When I raced 250Fs in Enduro cross, I always opted for the motocross version of the line. This gave me an extra power and snap I needed, and often it still wasn't quite enough. This is why we see such a success in Enduro cross with the Austrian 350cc line. Now, in my experience, the TM brand makes a powerhouse of a machine. The 300cc 2-stroke I rode in Hawaii had the characteristics of a 90s 500 2-stroke. It likes to be short-shifted, ridden in the meat of the power, and had the ability to pull you out of any gear. The 2-stroke felt like a factory engine that was made for high-end performance. And I have to say the TM300FI 4-stroke is no exception to that. The 300 4-stroke has the bottom-end grunt for that technical terrain and the high-end screen for the turn track or motocross track. There's something about a 4-stroke power that I really enjoy. The smooth, tractable characteristics of speed makes me feel controlled and smooth when riding higher speed disciplines. Because the power range is so long and the TM's power has the ability to pull you out of the bottom end, the decreased required shifts during a lap makes for less work and improved lap times. Plain and simple, I feel like I can ride longer and faster on this bike. Now, as the terrain gets more technical, the bike continues to shine. That impressive bottom end grunt allows for a snappy, tractable power over obstacles. Now, to an extent, the bike can handle whatever you throw at it in its stock form. I've made no changes other than, of course, tires, protection, and setting the sag and suspension to my liking, which I will talk more on later. But what do I mean when I say to an extent? Of course, I specialize in hard enduro. When testing the bike in those 0 mph situations, that's where I'd make a few changes. We're talking when I'm searching for a line, pivoting, balancing, and blipping. The bike is completely capable of doing this, although I would change the gearing slightly from stock. The TM300FI comes with 1351 stock gearing, and I'd say 1250 would prevent a few engine stalls here and there. I really needed to be deliberate with the clutch in those hard enduro specific situations, and I may have stalled it a few times. Turning up the idle a bit helped, but gearing would completely solve this problem. I think with some minor changes, we could absolutely have a competitive hard enduro machine. A little gearing, maybe a bigger flywheel. In my opinion, there's no reason this machine can't run with those two-stroke 300s in those technical situations. Now that we've covered engine, let's talk chassis and suspension. The TMs are equipped with a hand-welded single beam aluminum frame. First off, these are one of the prettiest frames on the market. Now, aluminum makes for a more rigid feel. Now, at speed, in my opinion, this tends to give a more stable feel. I find my comfort on turn track is increased on the aluminum frame bikes. That goes the other way as soon as the trail gets really rocky or technical. It seems I feel the machine a bit more with an aluminum frame, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think the bump absorption and flex of a steel frame equates to comfort, where the increased feel of the aluminum frame equates to a required more in-tune focus. There's times where I can almost feel the contact of the tires more through the frame when riding the TM in technical terrain. This feeling comes mostly when I break traction, which I'm not saying comes from the aluminum frame itself, but I am saying it's more noticeable. The claimed weight of the TM300FI is 240 pounds, which is slightly heavier than the Beta I'm used to. I can feel this weight difference when doing a trials type line. The TM is slightly less flickable than the two strokes that I'm used to, but I'd say that's to be expected. An interesting addition to the TM 4-strokes is the nearly Yamaha-esque airbox and gas tank. The air filter is where the tank would go, and the gas is where the airbox would go. I love the theory of a more central mass. These are those unique characteristics that make the bike one in its own. Now, the stock suspension on the TM comes with KYB front suspension and a custom TM Racing rear shock. Now, I love the KYB forks. The setting from the factory felt somewhat soft for the turn tracks I first tested the machine on. I'd say close to the valving of the Beta I'm currently riding. If I was to only ride technical terrain, I'd probably valve the suspension slightly softer, but increase the bottoming resistance. Although for the well-rounded rider, I think this setup is pretty solid. From the factory, the manual recommends a 90mm sag and between 14 to 18 clicks out on all the suspension adjusters. After my initial testing, I set the sag at 110mm for my weight. This allowed the machine to sit in the stroke a bit more in those technical sections. I stiffened my front fork compression 12 clicks back and slowed the rebound to 11 clicks back. This corrected a feeling of diving in the corners, also created a more planted front end. The TM rear shock, after a few adjustments, performs impressively. I again ran about 110mm sag, with the rebound set to 10 clicks back, low speed compression set to 14 clicks back, and high speed set to 12 clicks back. I prefer running more sag and a slightly stiffer, slower setting that to me is more well-rounded and adaptable for riding all disciplines. The suspension feels planted and controllable, allowing for a plush feeling in technical terrain, yet stiff enough for those hard hits at speed. The TM comes with so many in-house made parts. It's truly a factory machine. Additionally, it comes with Brembo front brakes and a clutch master cylinder. The clutch is a 9mm stock for extra feel and a soft pull. We also have a dual map switch that makes a noticeably smoother power in map 2. The bike is also equipped with a stock radiator fan that definitely was a must for my style of technical riding. I love when bikes come stock with a fan because I need one and I hate essentially installing anything. Riding this machine inspires me to take on different racing challenges. Maybe you'll see me at a hare scramble or a sprint enduro on this machine in the future. I hope you enjoyed my initial review on the TM300FI 4-stroke. I can almost guarantee if you get a TM motorcycle, you won't be disappointed, especially this one. If you're enjoying the channel, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as well as follow us on Instagram at IRCMoto and my personal Instagram page at RichLarsen511. And until next time, keep shredding.